Yo, what's good, guys? It's Austin here, or Luna. So, today's story time is a pretty funny one that I've been waiting to tell for a while. Hope you enjoy it. Leave a like on the video if you do, and let's get into it. So today's story time all starts off as a regular day when I was 18 years old, just like yesterday's story time did. This was actually a month after yesterday's story time when that takes place. So, yeah, both story times are pretty close together, and, yeah, this all starts off as a regular day when I was 18. I woke up in the morning, didn't have anything planned on this day. I already had my video done for the day. Didn't have any plans with friends, family, anything. I was just sitting around at home all day, watching TV, sitting on the computer, just wasting away, being a slob. And while I was sitting there watching TV, still hadn't gotten out of bed, my dad called me. Calls me up. He's like, "Hey, what are you doing today?" And I was like, "Not shit." And he's like, "Do you want to get dinner together?" And I was like, "Yeah, that'd be great." So my dad invited me over to have spaghetti. I'm always down for homemade spaghetti. Who wouldn't be? So yeah, fast forward to dinner time. It was time to go over to my dad's house. I was grabbing my things. I was getting ready. And as I was getting ready, I noticed on my bookshelf this jar. This jar contained some edibles in it. A few weed brownies, some might say. I had bought these brownies probably about 3 days prior, so they'd just been sitting on my dresser in a jar for like 3 days. You're probably wondering if my mom was like mad at me for having those out in the open, but she didn't care. I was 18 at this point, and there was worse things I could have been doing than eating some edibles, so she didn't really mind. But anyway, I was looking at them as I was about to leave and go to my dad's house, and I thought, you know what? I'm gonna eat half of one before I go. It'll up my appetite. It'll make me more social. Let's do it. So I ate half of one. By the way, these were homemade, so I didn't know how strong or non-strong they were. So I decided to bring one with me in case it didn't kick in and it just like sucked and I could eat more while I was at his house. So yeah, I brought one with me in my backpack. I threw it in a little bag, brought it with me, and about an hour and a half later, while I was at my dad's house eating dinner, that little half of one kicked in. And it was so much stronger than I anticipated. Like, I was fucked. And at the dinner table, it was so obvious. I remember my dad looked up at me and he's like, "Are you okay? You seem like sick." I was like, "No, I ate a little bit of something before I came over, and yeah, I'm feeling it pretty hard." He's like, "What'd you eat? Like a pot brownie or something?" He knew. And I was like, "Yep, bingo." He's like, "Where'd you get those from?" And I was like, "My friend made them. They're clearly a lot stronger than I thought they were." He's like, "Oh man, you should have brought one for me." And I was like, "Well, now that you say that, I did bring another one because I thought that it wasn't going to be strong and I was going to need another. Turns out I don't, so now I have an extra if you want it." He's like, "Hell yeah." So I opened up my backpack, I handed it over to him in the bag, and I was like, "Just so you know, eat like a quarter of it at a time. Do not eat half or a whole one, because I ate half and I'm fucked." And he's like, "Oh, I got a way higher tolerance than you with this stuff." I was like, "I don't think you do." And this fucking absolute psycho just eats the whole thing without hesitation. Like, just opens the bag up, pops the whole thing in his mouth, chews it like a few times, swallows it. He was just good to go. And I look at him and I laugh and I'm like, "You're probably going to regret that." He's like, "I won't." I'm like, "All right, okay, sure." So fast forward to dessert. At this point, like an hour had gone by since he ate the brownie, and it was starting to kick in a bit in the middle of dessert. And we were having some ice cream, and he wasn't touching his ice cream at all. He was not eating it. And I was like, "You all right, Dad?" He's like, "Oh, I'm a little sick to my stomach. Yeah, brownie's not sitting well." And I was like, damn." And he's like, "Yeah, I think I'm going to go chill for a second. I'm going to go lay down." I'm like, "Okay." So he walks out of the room. I'm just sitting there at the table scrolling Twitter. And after about 25 minutes, I went into his room to check on him because I wanted to make sure he wasn't like super sick or anything. So I walked into his room and he's just laying on the bed watching TV and he's smiling at the show he's watching. And I was like, "You okay?" And he looks at me and he's like, "Hey." And I was like, "Hey, what's up?" He's like, "How you doing?" I was like, "Good. How are you doing?" He's like, I'm good. I'm great." And I was like, "You want your ice cream? It's melting in the kitchen." He's like, "Yeah, that'd be great." So I don't know what happened in this 25-minute period, but I guess it went from being a really, really bad experience to a really, really good one. So I walked into the kitchen. I grabbed his ice cream. I brought it back into his room. I handed it to him. He starts chowing down on it while he's watching this reality show. And he's just like geeked out, like eyes red, looking real happy. And I was like, "So, you need anything else?" anything else you want? He's like, no, I'm good. Watch this show with me. And I was like, all right. So I sat down on the bed and I'm watching this reality show with him. Never even heard of it before. Didn't even get its name because it was in the middle of playing. And I'm just chilling there with him. And my experience actually kind of mellowed out at this point. You know, I was having a bad kind of high before that. But now at this point, it was a lot better, a lot more like mellowed out. And his was just probably on another level. I mean, he ate double what I ate and was just, yeah, he was probably taken out by it. But luckily, it was in a good way. And the whole rest of that night, we were just watching shows and like chilling. We watched a movie later on in the night. And we pretty much just hung out until we were both no longer, you know, on another planet. Now, the story doesn't end there, okay? Fast forward to the next day, all right? I'm in my room working on a YouTube video, just hanging out, not doing a whole lot, and I still was in disbelief of what happened the night before because that was just so crazy to me that I got to eat edibles with my dad. But anyway, yeah, I'm sitting on my computer working on this YouTube video, and my dad shoots me a text, and it says, call me. And I reply, and I was like, all right, 1 sec. So about 10 minutes later, I finish up my video stuff. I give my dad a call. He answers. He's like, hello. I'm like, hey, what's up? What'd you need? He's like, hey, so last night, awesome, great experience. I just want to know, do you happen to have any more of those? And I was like, any more of the brownies? He's like, yeah. I was like, I might have 1 or 2 left. He's like, oh, I don't want to take your last one. I'm like, Dad, they're so strong, I don't think I'll ever eat these again. So you can have them. He's like, all right, what do I owe you? I was like, they're free. You can take them. Just come by and pick them up. He's like, oh, no, come on. I got to give you something. I'm like, nope, don't worry about it. So fast forward like 20 minutes later, my dad pulled up to my house. I walked out with the jar, gave him the jar of the leftover brownies because I wasn't eating those things anymore. They just did not sit well with me for the first like half of the high. And he went home. And later that night, like 5 hours later, I get a phone call from none other than my dad. And I answer it. It was a FaceTime. And he is just looking completely and utterly fucking zooted. And he's like, I ate all of them. And I was like, what do you mean you ate all of them? He's like, there was 2. I ate 2. And I was like, why? 1 was so much more than enough. He's like, I don't know, but I don't feel really good. It's kind of hard to talk. And I was like, are you having a stroke? Like, what do you mean? He's like, I don't know. It's hard to talk and walk. And I'm like, do you need me to call 911? He's like, no, I'll be fine. And he just hangs up the FaceTime after that. Doesn't say anything else. Just says, I'll be fine. And then hangs up. And I call him back and he doesn't answer. So at this point, I'm freaking out. I'm like, what the fuck's going on with this dude? So I had my friend drive me over there like 10 minutes later. And we went to his house and we basically like babysat him for the rest of his high. The first like hour wasn't very good. But after that, he was chilled out and better. And yeah, I don't know why he decided to just jump in head first and eat all of them that were left, but he did. But yeah, the rest of that night, things kind of mellowed out after about an hour, and everything ended up being okay. He was okay. But yeah, moral of the story is, don't do what my dad did. But yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed the story time, found it funny. If you did, leave a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it. Feel free to leave your story times in the comments down below, and subscribe if you're new. I'll see you guys all later. Peace.
I be fully loaded, I be whipping foreign cars. Always stay devoted, mama knew I'd be a star. Now I'm steady flowing, feeling like I'm high as Mars. I'ma keep on going, I'ma always